Hi everybody, Giselle Grenier here from artplace.ca. In today's video, this is the second ATC I'm creating for the 369 ATC series, and this is based on a swap that I'm hosting. You can get information about that at artplace.ca. I also have to apologize if you hear a lot of noise in the background. We're in the middle of a major snowstorm, so all the plows are out. Okay. I'm going to be creating this on a playing card, and the idea for this is things that I loved creating this year, and it's all about texture. So I'm adding tons of texture in all the pieces. First thing I have to do, gesso. Because this is slick, nothing's going to stick to it. I'm going to be applying it though dry. Meaning I'm not wetting, thinning it down or anything. All I want to do is get some gesso on here. And over the numbers, the 6 of hearts, I'm just going to add a little bit of gesso just to reduce its intensity. But everywhere else, especially around the edges, I'm going to be applying a good amount of gesso. And now that the gesso is starting to dry in some spots, I can go back over with another layer, and I'm laying my brush almost flat in different directions, which is creating even more texture. All about texture. And I've got some nice little quotes that I'm going to be putting on this as well. And just take a little bits, and you can distress. And in the first video, I'll link it below, I wrote that I'm using 369 as my inspiration for this, and you can comment below what you think the significance is of 369. I had a contest on this. It was a couple of years ago. There we go. Alrighty, so that's going to sit. Put that to dry. Now I need to, while that's dry, I'm going to prepare some paper. And I already took the paper out that I'm going to use. And it's the new line of deco art paper. It's a decoupage paper, Victorian Romance. There's 3 patterns in here. And I'm taking the music pattern, and I want to I'll use that part. And all the little bits and scraps in that, there's another one from another piece. I don't throw any of that stuff out. I keep it. And what I want to do with this is I'm going to mount this on cardstock because it's too thin. Now you can use anything you want. You can use scrapbook paper, dictionary paper, whatever it is, but it needs to be strong enough because I'm going to be adding some crackle paste on this. And if you add, especially the crackle mediums, any texture type of medium to something very thin, it's going to curl. And if that's what you want, that's fine. For me, I actually want it flat enough because then I'm going to cut out a shape. So I need to mount this first. I had to stop there for a sec. Joe just came home with Mia. She was covered in snow. Oh, it's funny. Okay, so I'm going to make this a bit stronger. So I'm going to, where's my brush? I'm going to collage this with matte medium. And the other piece that I did, I actually put gesso behind it as an experiment to see if that would do anything. So I'm using the angled part of the brush to burnish that down. Then I'm going to apply more matte medium over the whole thing. All right. Okie dokie. And now I'm going to dry this with the heat gun. Oh, but I better clean this up first. I'm working on my unstick mat, which is very dirty. I don't waste time cleaning it. This will only take a second. Now it's dry, and I'm going to be applying, no, this one here, crackle paste. And, thinking there for a second, I wanted to do some crackle paint, or crackle glaze. Now with this stuff hot is very, very thick. And I'm not going to apply it everywhere. But you can't mess around with this. Once you put it on, you got to leave it. But I'll put it on quite thickly here so you can see what it looks like. I won't need to cut this part into the design. Apply it with a palette knife. If you don't have the crackle paste, use any type of texture you want. Layer color, layer more gesso, whatever you want. Okay, this I'm going to let dry, and I'm not going to speed it up with the heat gun. I want this to dry naturally to get the best effect. So when that's finished, we'll come back and move on to the next step. All right, so let's start putting some of this together. Let me get this thing cut out. I'm going to do another heart. So this is all dried. You can see the nice texture on there. And I want to make sure I have that included. So that's actually pretty good right there. And scissors. Joe took Mia to his mom's place, so I don't have to worry about any barking. The only thing we have to worry about is chaos because it's getting close to her supper time. And I don't care about the pencil mark. I actually might add a little bit more. Make it look sketchy. I really should do this just with a marker. And then I found this shell. Now these shells I picked up at Michael's. They're called mosaic shell tiles. The bag here. And I found this one's almost like the shape of a heart. So I'm going to use that here as well. And I also have a butterfly cutout. This is from just some scrapbook paper. I'm thinking about putting that there. And I've got some other, this is just scraps. I have a little box here with all these little scrap bits. And then I just, from another project, not just with burnt umber. So I was thinking about putting that there. Then I have a little, another scrap bit of a little ruler bit. I'm thinking of putting that there. So that's sort of where I'm looking at going. Then I've got my quote and I've got little stamps here, and I'm going to figure out what quote I'm going to put on there. I've got this Andy Skinner mixed media stencil. It's called Shedded. I'm going to create a little bit of a background on that. I'm going to go for a really small piece here. Make it easy to clean. And for the paints, Decor Art Media Fluid Acrylics, I've got Raw Sienna, Burnt Sienna, Titanium White, and Ultramarine Blue. I also have, which I'm not sure if I'm going to use yet, the Decor Art Media Misters. I've got Orange and Primary Cyan. So I need to just create a bit of a blur back here. And I'm going to first start off with Raw Sienna and Titanium White. Roughly equal parts. And I'm going to just brush mix them so there's a little bit of variegation there. And just going to apply a very rough layer. And when I reload the brush, I'm going to pick up bit more. So I picked up white there. Now I'll pick up a bit more raw sienna. And it just creates some different values on there. It's not all the same flat color. Just using my finger to wipe off the excess. I can actually feel the texture, so I know where to concentrate. And the shell is kind of light, so I'm going to make sure that this corner is darker. And I'll just get my baby wipe, and I just want to remove a little bit off the number. Love that. Love it, love it, love it. Ooh, I like that too. Let's get some DNA in there. Here we go. Alrighty, put that aside. That looks pretty good. I'm not going to need that paint anymore. And while that's drying, I'm going to put out 2 drops of burnt sienna. Even that's too much paint. And then a little bit more ultramarine blue and a little bit less of ultramarine blue. So what we've got here, these are 2 core colors in my palette, regardless of whether I'm painting people, animals, doesn't matter. 2 core colors in my palette. With these 2 colors, you can make a variety of mixes using a blue and a brown. So if you think of equal parts of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, roughly equal parts, will give you a chromatic black, which is black made with color. 2 parts of burnt sienna, 1 part ultramarine blue will give you something close to burnt umber, and 2 parts ultramarine blue to 1 part burnt sienna will give you something close to Payne's Gray. And depending on the brand and the transparencies, you'll have to adjust those mixtures a little bit. And what I want to do, I'm going to blot this little pouncer. And where's my palette knife? I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to take this mixture and why didn't I just use burnt umber? Because I want to show you what happens if you don't have burnt umber. I'm going to load that up and just work the edges. I was actually supposed to do the heart, not the card yet. So I'm doing this, and because it's a sponge, it's going more over on the heart. This is why I like these little daubers. I didn't clean this very well because it will only, because it's like a little sponge on top of a wood dowel. It doesn't wrap around. You get a lot more control with this. Making sure that it's straight on. If I go over like this, then of course it's going to cover. Whoops. Now I wonder. Blot, blot, blot. Just going to carefully, the lightest pressure, because the text I'm going to be putting on there is white cardstock. I really want to enhance the cracks there. That worked out quite nice. Just using whatever's left over. Oh, I hear people shoveling snow outside. There we go. That's quite nice. And I actually could have just used that extra. Let me just go over it again. Make sure it's really, really strong. Almost like an outline. And I say you can use a marker if you want. Not everybody has the same supplies. And I know with a lot of more stuff going to online shipping, the biggest problem with that is the shipping rates. So use what you have. And let's see, do I need anything else? Oh, and little scrap bits of paper. I mean, you can just take them, just do the edges if you want, if you don't want to see the white of the paper. Don't spend too much time, fussing with this, because it's going to be just to create some texture, and it's going to sit underneath some stuff. I actually wanted to make this one the Payne's Gray mixture, but I'll use the Payne's Gray mixture to do the little quotes. Let's see if I can create a little vignette, just ever so carefully. Just to darken the edges a little bit more. And as I'm going in towards the card, the edges get a little bit darker. I like this one here. I have a funny feeling I still have some white paint on this, because I've got some white coming off on the on here. There we go. Nice grungy look. Put that in water. Put the dauber in water. I'm not going to wipe that up yet. Well, let's do the stencil with the Payne's Gray as well. I want to make sure, I'm going to put the big ones on that side, because I don't really care if I cover this one, but I don't want to cover this one. So I know that where it's big. All right, so more of the blue, less of the brown. Perfect. This is really, really, really wet still. Yeah. And you can still get some of that number and wipe some of that back. Love that. Love that. And when I see how long I can keep that paint on there, I still have to do the little, there's the white. I still have to do the little stamping. And I want to edge the paper. And what I'm going to do to protect this now, I'm going to go over with a layer of decoupage glue sealer finish. I'm using the matte finish. I'm going to go over everything. And it's going to give an extra layer of protection on the paint. Because this is a glossy card, when I did the number 3 card, some of it actually chipped off. So I want to make sure that this is nice and sturdy. And this will give it really good protection layer. You can use varnish if you want. Okay. And put put that aside to dry. And oh, while we're here, get a different little stencil brush, and I'm just going to, what I'm doing is I'm actually taking the little brush and I'm kind of putting it, the bristles through the butterfly cutout, and which is kind of giving it a grunge look. This is very rough on the brushes, so don't use your good brushes to do this technique because it will ruin them. And I'm doing it because I've got new brushes on order, and I'll use these brushes specifically for this technique. And it gives it a feathery look. Oh, I gotta be careful with this little antennae. And each time I'm picking up paint, I'm using a little bit more of one color versus another color just to keep things fresh. If you don't have a butterfly cutout, you know where to go. Go to Graphics Fairy. She's got some amazing vintage butterflies. You don't have to go out and spend money to buy them. And Joe picked up this paper for me. Oh, this was, God, a couple of years ago. And I just like the butterfly. I picked it up at Michael's. There we go. That takes care of that. Put that aside. And let me take some of that mixture as well. And I loaded up more blue. And I want to just on one side do a little bit of that Payne's gray, because that side was still a little bit too white. No, you know what? I'm going to bring it right to the top. I like the blue look. Here we go. Dry yet? No. Okay, let's work the little letters. Let's work the little letters. I've got some quotes that I was thinking of. Let's see. I was thinking of, for number 3, I created this. So I was thinking of the quotes, either things that really I loved and were important to me this year. Take action, manifest and meditation. I am truly awake. I can dream big. Deep breath, and I am empowered. I am empowered is probably going to be too long. Manifest and meditation is probably going to be too big. Take action. Take action. This is going to be very tedious. I'm telling you that right now. Very, very tedious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp all this. I'm going to speed up the video because you really don't want to see me doing individual ones. It's boring. But I just want to get this started. And all I'm doing is taking little, and if you don't have little micro stamps, don't worry about it. Use a computer and go to your favorite font website, pick a font, and print it out on cardstock. You're ready to go. So all I'm going to do is just stamp like this. And if I screw up, then I'll just stamp it again. You know what? I might as well just keep going. And C T I O. And see, they're not lined up very well. That's fine. And I'm using the Stays On pad. Chaos isn't here in the room right now, so I'm able to use that. And put those old doodads aside. Cardstock. Never throw out your cardstock. Now I'm just going to cut this out into a nice little Nice little shape. Roughly equal distance from the stamped edges. They're uneven. I'm not worried about it. And you want to have more space around the edges if possible, because when you edge them, if you happen to edge too much, you can always cut some off to trim it. And I need to be very careful with this. I'm going to go with another dauber. And I'm going to mix this up. There's a hair there. That's chaos. How the heck did chaos hair get in there? That color right there. Right there. If you'd like to learn more about color mixing, in the membership site, I've got a video. It's an older video that I did called Color in Nature. I did the opening when I was at Apps Mill with Harley, and I talk about matching colors, and we create, although it's using oils, you can use it with acrylics as well. I did with the oils because of how long the video was and I need the extra drying time. You can create thousands and thousands of mixtures with just like 11 or 12 core colors. You don't have to own 360 different tubes of paint. For convenience wise, it's nice using pre-mixed colors, don't get me wrong, when you just want to play and muck around, but knowing how to mix colors is very important. It'll save you some money, if anything. And as I'm going around, because I'm using such little paint, it's dry. And by the time I get to this part, this is dry. I'm going to go with the other one now. Going a little bit further in. If you don't have cardstock, use printer paper. There we go. Working on my unstick mat, which needs to be really cleaned. Holy smokes. All right, are you dry? You're dry. Well, how I'm thinking about doing the assemblage on this is really leaving it's just maybe a bit of an edge there. I'm not quite sure if I want to use this now. But the idea I have and then with the butterfly, and then I'm going to cut it out, and then I'll have to re-ink the edge. Put that underneath there, and because the card is round, I'll have to cut some of that off. And then this was going to go underneath, right to the top, something like that. That's what I was thinking about, which I may still end up doing. So because there's a lot of drying time involved, let's get that over and done with before I'm going to collage the stuff down first, because then I want to use these to create some drips. Let's see. I'm going to use, you know what? I love the decoupage matte medium, or the decoupage matte glue for doing my collage work. I'm going to just stick with that, because I can always add multiple layers. And barrier layers, which is a layer of paint, transparent medium, another layer of paint, transparent medium. It creates, you've got so many layers that are transparent, and you get a beautiful, it's like it's glazed layers, and the light shines through, and it's so intense. That's not tall enough. That's okay. Using the back of the brush just to burnish that down, because there's so many layers of transparent colors, and everything just really, the light comes through. Okay, oops, I gotta go over a little bit more on that. The decoupage medium, make sure you wipe your hands right after you finish using it. This stuff is so super strong, it creates a film on your hands. So what I did is I overlapped the paper larger than the card, and then I'll trim it down once it's dry. And I don't think I want to put the paint drip, the ink drips on that, but I can still do it while this is drying. Let me just hit this with the heat gun for a sec, just to kind of get it started. Twisted up paper towel. I'm going to put that up there, like so. And I put a ball bearing in the bottom to help mix. These are permanent misters. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this on the end, on the edge. Very strong colors. You'll see what I'm going to do. And let's see. I'm going to get a big brush, and it's going to touch the edge of the card, which is basically squeegeeing water out. And then take orange and blue, because they're opposites on the color wheel, they make a brown. I'm just going to, and it travels where the paint is, where the surface is wet. Oh, this orange has more yellow in it. All right. I like it with the blue though. I'm gonna take that. Yeah, that's really green. That's because I had more orange than I did the blue. I want more blue on there. And because I put the decoupage medium on there first, I can wipe back. So to remove some paint. So again, what I'm doing is I'm just squeegeeing, and this is useful if you don't have like an eyedropper. You can also just dip your brush in water and just dab. This way you have to be careful though in case you get too much out of there. I want more on the edge here. So all I have to do is just touch it where it's wet, and the water will travel to those areas. And what I'm going to do now is, I like it dark in that corner because when the butterfly sits on top, it's going to have some really nice contrast. You can speed up the drying time with the heat gun. And what I'm just doing is just getting some additional shapes. A lot of this stuff is going to be covered up. And then now I'm going to let this dry. Like I said, you can use the heat gun, but you'll end up moving some of the parts around. When you let it dry naturally, sometimes you get some darker edges, which is what I'm going for. All right, so then let me just get this glued on there, and I'm going to put, let's see, that's wet. Put that away. Just got to get some of this stuff put away. making a mess. Making a mess. And I'm going to put this on first. Right like that. And then what I'm going to do is put it over here. Put the bottle on top. Actually, what I should do, because the bottle is tapered, if you have a piece of wood or something, just going to put that on top and then that on top of that. There we go. All right, let's get some, let me cut this off. I want to edge that again. Oh, now let me get some Payne's Gray. Hang on. Just to show you. So it looks really black, right? Well, let me use the bigger dauber. I don't want to use the wet ones. See, it looks almost the same. And let's just go back, especially on this side here. Oops. Take care of your scissors. Like I said, these are actually for stenciling glass, but they're phenomenal for doing this type of thing. And a little bit more to the front. As you run out of paint, you can create a nice edge on that. Just going to darken that a little bit more. Beautiful. I don't want to cover that number 6. This number 6 is almost invisible. There we go. Do I need anything else? Nope. And you can put another layer of paper there if you want. That's going to go on top of that heart. So I'm thinking about doing it like, oh, you know what? Hang on a second. I should have dry fitted this. You know what? And I lecture you guys about doing dry fits. Do you know what? That looks really nice just the way that is. If I don't put the shell, imagine that kind of cut off. That actually might. That looks pretty just like that as well. So just by adding this little shell here, if I were to mail this, it's going to cost me an extra $1.80 in postage just for this piece here. So keep that in mind when you're contemplating the different things to put on your cards. So I should have did that dry fit. If I move that up, I really wanted to use that butterfly. And then if you're stuck with trying to figure out what it's going to look like, just take some scrap paper and just picture it like that. So with or without. The bottom one actually has much more contrast on there. I'm going to lose the number 6 though, but the composition is not what I want. So I'm going to stick to my original plan like that, and omit using the shell. Darn, I really wanted to use that. So let's collage that down. Just thinking, when I send this international, this little ATC I think would actually cost me $6 to ship. So if I keep it flat, then what I'll do is I will reserve this for my international partner. I'm not sure. I know I want to do a giveaway on these cards. I'm just not sure which one I'm going to give away. And because this is transparent, I can add more decoupage medium there. And I like the heart sticking up. So when it goes actually into the envelope for mailing, it will flatten out. But once it comes out of the package, it'll curl back up again. If you don't want that to happen, then glue everything, the entire thing around, and then flatten it so it actually dries flat. I want it to stick up like you can see. Let's see if I can turn that. See? I want it to dry like that. That'll make up for not being able to add the shell. I'm also going to take some decoupage medium, go over the entire card again. You can use whatever finish you want. You can use varnish at this point. I still have to do one more edging once I cut the butterfly. Trim it down. You can use a hot glue gun as well for the heart. Now, if you were edging everything here with, let's say, distress paints, you couldn't do this because it's water soluble, so you might streak everything. So keep that in mind too when you're, oh, he lost his antennas. Keep that in mind when you're edging. That's why I prefer using permanent material. His little antenna broke. Okay, so let's put you back there. I totally forgot. There we go. Alrighty. That's actually not too bad. If I had a smaller shell, see, I could still put a little shell right there, but then the shipping price goes up. I'm probably going to end up doing that anyways. I just love shells. Is one thing that I really liked. Ooh, I like that. Got it. I wanted this because of the heart. I may use that in the other project, the number 9 project. So yeah, these I think paid $10 Canadian with these, and there was a coupon. So, and they go far. All right. That's. Oh, look at the copper color. Look at the copper color on that. Now, usually I would use a glue gun for this, but because the card itself is plastic based, I don't want to use the hot glue gun. Okay, so now if I am going to send this international, it's going to cost me, I think, $5.80. And to me, the shipping itself doesn't bother me. I just write everything off anyways for shipping, but it is hard for some people, so keep that in mind. Get a baby wipe, and I'm just going to wipe the shell. So you've got some really thick, and that after a few days that'll be completely dry. But you know what else you can do? Depending, it either goes flat at the front, flat in the middle, or flat at the top. I have to pick where I want it to be flat. So once you've figured out exactly where you want it to be flat, I'm going to press it down. Oops. Get rid of the excess. Make sure there's no decoupage medium on the shell. Okay, where did they go? Oh, there they are. Got these little clamps. There we go, like that. And then I'll just clean up the edge. This will dry transparent, so you don't have to worry about it. It'll also add texture to your piece. Just even that out. I wonder if I can do this one too. Booyah. Got it. Got it, got it, got it. Make sure nothing goes on the shell. The worst that'll happen if it goes on the shell will be a little bit more matte. And just doing a cleanup here. I know this is boring, but if you're a beginner, you're going to want to know how to do this. So just realigning that. And then I will let this sit for probably a couple of hours, just to make sure. That's dry. I can cut that off for while I'm here. I should wait, but I'm impatient. And that's one thing I'm working on is my patience. Meditating helps a lot. Joe said to me, how do you have the patience to meditate? You always want to be making stuff. I screwed up the order that I did this. Totally screwed the order up. Could have just even used my finger. Oh, lovely. And his little tail. I have tiny little clamps. Don't want to use anything too thick. Okay, so let's clean up. Oh my God, what a mess. And then we'll come back. We'll take everything apart, and then you can see what it looks like. Okay, so this is all set. I'm just pulling up the edges. Give it a little bit more dimensional look. And as well, to get rid of any of the decoupage medium that got on the seashell, I just used rubbing alcohol on a cloth and just wiped it off. And then that was it. So there's nothing left to do with this little card. It's all finished. So I hope that you enjoyed this. And please let me know what you think about the project, the ways of using different types of mixed media pieces. Comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. That way you won't miss anything. And give me a thumbs up if you found this video useful and entertaining. As well, if you'd like to share some pictures with me, please feel free to email them to me or share them in my private Facebook group. Links to both of those can be found on my website at artplace.ca. Alrighty, I would look forward to seeing you in one of our swaps. I would love to swap cards with you. And I'm going to clean up, get ready for my next project. So until I see you in the next video, stay inspired.